Morning, everyone. I would first of all want to take a moment to thank you all for joining us this morning as we release the draft Open Government Action Plan. And it's taken a lot of work to get here, as many of you know, and both by the public and also by those within government. And I'm also I'm very proud and very pleased with what's been accomplished so far. So for those of you in the room who've played a role in getting us to where we are today, I offer my thanks and appreciation to you. As the world recognizes International Right to Know Day today, this announcement also provides an opportunity to highlight how the provincial government is joining governments around the globe in making information accessible. Our government wants the values and needs of our citizens to be the driving force shaping our province's future. And through our Open Government Initiative, we are striving to provide the necessary tools for government to work more closely together with the people that we serve. This plan, which is your plan, it's the people's plan, represents a major step towards enhancing government openness so that we work better with you, the people of the province. We deeply value our relationship with Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. And when we launched the Open Government Initiative last year, we pledged that we would better connect the people of the province with their government. We expended a lot of effort to ensure that every resident of the province was given an opportunity to contribute to the Open Government Initiative and the development of this plan. And what we discovered is that people are very passionate about their government, the work that government does, and the work that the government does for them and with them. We asked you to share your ideas, your insights, your expertise, and people responded in a big way. We heard thousands of ideas from hundreds of people about how we can become more open, engaging, and collaborative. These ideas are now incorporated in Newfoundland and Labrador's first draft Open Government Action Plan. We've listened to you. We feel we've come up with a plan that reflects what citizens and people of our province want. But we've got one more thing to ask of people of Newfoundland and Labrador. We promise to keep you informed every step of the way. And one last step involves getting your feedback about the action plan that has been finalized and being presented today. So in the spirit of open government, we're trying something new, something exciting to get your thoughts and feedback, which will further demonstrate our commitment to openness and collaboration. However, I'll leave the specifics of that to Minister Kent to share, as well as other elements of the draft action plan. The Open Government Initiative does not include, Open Government Initiatives does not conclude with this announcement today. We are committed to changing the culture of government to ensure that we continue to foster the spirit of openness and collaboration. And we also recognize that this does not happen and will not happen overnight. It will take some time and some continuous effort to accomplish. And we're not afraid to try something new. We're not afraid to try something innovative in order to improve the lives of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, and this plan demonstrates that commitment. We have taken efforts to strengthen the culture of openness across departments. For example, we've delivered training on public engagement capacity building throughout the public service. We've delivered workshops on partnership, brokering and collaboration to government employees and also community sector organizations. And we've developed a public engagement guide for departments and agencies. It's really about doing better, improving over time and shifting expectations about what the relationship between government and citizens will look like. The commitment of our public service to foster openness across government departments and agencies will no doubt be the hallmark of the plan's success. By adopting new standards, leveraging the tools at our disposal, and the better engagement of citizens, I'm confident that we will improve decision-making, strengthen democracy, improve public policy, and deliver better programs and services to the people of Newfoundland and Labrador. And now Minister Kent will provide you with some of the more details about the plan and how you can provide feedback and how you can have your say. Minister.
Thank you, Premier. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for gathering. I recognize some of the important partners that have contributed to this work are here, so I thank you for being here. Representation from the opposition parties, we appreciate. Good turnout from the media, so thank you for that. And also many staff from the Office of Public Engagement are here who've worked very hard to get us to this point, so I want to thank them as well. As Minister responsible for the Office of Public Engagement, I'm very happy to be here today. As Premier Davis mentioned, the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador deeply values our relationship with the people of this province. This morning's announcement marks the next step on our path to improving the way we connect, engage, collaborate, and share with our citizens and stakeholders. When we announced the Open Government Initiative last year, we outlined an ambitious public engagement framework to inform the development of this action plan. I'm proud to be here today to tell you that the participative process we used has been a resounding success. We held more than 40 in-person engagement sessions with over 700 people for both citizens and public sector employees, in which we spoke with people about their thoughts and ideas about how to make government more open. In addition, we used a variety of other methods, such as social media, questionnaires, and online feedback forums to ensure that anybody who wished to contribute to open government in Newfoundland and Labrador would have the opportunity to do so. What we heard from citizens and public servants, in tandem with insights about worldwide best practices in open government, forms the foundation of this draft action plan. This draft plan contains 12 big commitments, with 43 actions in total, which we believe will strengthen Newfoundland and Labrador's reputation as a leader in open government. They are organized under the 4 pillars of open data, open information, dialogue, and collaboration. I want to emphasize that this is a draft action plan because we are committed to ensuring that we get this right. That being said, there are several actions in the Open Government Action Plan that we were able to get a head start on. I'm very pleased to announce their official launch today as well. 3 immediate actions include the call for applications for a new collaboration incentive fund as announced in the budget, making the draft action plan available online in a wiki format, and the launch of a new searchable ATIP web portal. I'd like to briefly tell you about these before we get further into the plan. First is the Office of Public Engagement's Collaboration Incentive Fund, which is a new and exciting program to promote provincial and regional prosperity by fostering cross-sector collaboration. This fund of $200,000 will help make it possible for partners across sectors to collaborate on innovative projects, research, and events. By facilitating such cooperation, we are striving to find new and effective ways to provide social and economic benefits to Newfoundland and Labrador. Today, the application package for the Collaboration Incentive Fund has been posted on the website of the Office of Public Engagement, and we welcome applications. Through our second action, we are making the draft action plan available online in a wiki format. This means that anyone who has suggestions or ideas for the plan can provide them at the same time that they read the plan. This is a novel and innovative step towards enhancing openness, and we will continue to seek new approaches to use modern technological tools to create more and better ways for government and the public to work together. And the third immediate action to announce today is our searchable ATIP database, which will streamline the access to information process by allowing the public to search completed access to information requests online, making more information immediately available to those who seek it. So along with those actions that I just mentioned, this plan outlines new ways in which our government will use technology to increase responsiveness to citizens and strengthen democratic processes. And I would like to now provide you with a brief snapshot of some of these exciting elements. One of the commitments in this plan is to make it easier for the public to engage with their government. This will be accomplished by expanding the scope of citizen participation through 2 actions in particular: the creation of an online petition platform and the development of the new Engage NL registry. The online petition platform will allow any resident to create or sign an online petition to call on government to take action on an issue. Petitions that reach a predetermined signature threshold will garner an official response from government in a timely manner. Not only are we committing to online petitions, but in the spirit of collaboration and innovation, a second action government will take is to host a Code Fest, where app developers will be challenged to come together to build the petition platform. This will be the first of hopefully many Code Fests that government intends to hold in the coming years to promote open data and to drive innovation. The Engage NL registry will allow interested residents to sign up to receive updates and news on opportunities to engage with government, specific to their interests and concerns. Government departments will use this information to notify those who have registered with Engage NL of engagement opportunities that are of interest to them. In addition to increasing participation, this draft action plan includes actions to make more information available to residents, to businesses, and to stakeholders under the open information pillar. This does not simply involve releasing more information in a proactive manner, although that is one of our commitments, but also better organizing the information to improve its accessibility and to improve its usefulness. We've identified several actions that help us meet our commitment to expand the amount of government information that will be made publicly available. Included in these actions are the disclosure of various inspection reports, including childcare and school bus inspection reports, the proactive release of as much cabinet material as possible that is more than 20 years old, and the release of travel expense claims for government executives. Under the open data pillar, we are committed to expanding the content available on the Open Data website and supporting the public use of open data in order to achieve greater social and economic benefits for the province. I'm pleased to announce today that a list of planned proactive disclosures, including over 50 information disclosures and almost 40 data sets, will be made public today, along with a list for the remainder of this fiscal year. This is the first step towards creating a citizen dashboard, which will provide interactive data online about a wide variety of services and projects in a very user-friendly manner. It will also support several other ambitious actions that are contained within this draft plan. The plan also contains a commitment to further increasing transparency in government spending in an open format. This will be accomplished through a variety of actions, including the disclosure of information on awarded contracts above $10,000 through an online database, the disclosure of government expenditure information, and the disclosure of grant payment information. What I have just described is simply a sample of some of the innovative and bar-raising initiatives we are planning to help achieve a more open government. Fittingly, we are announcing this plan during Right to Know Week, which is held worldwide each year to raise awareness of people's right to access government information while promoting freedom of information as essential to both democracy and good governance. Later this evening, I will be joining the Centre for Law and Democracy's International Right to Know Day discussion in Halifax, where panelists will discuss the right to information in a Canadian context and consider how to strengthen and promote transparent government across the country. It's great that Newfoundland and Labrador is now being recognized as being a leader in Canada and a leader in the world when it comes to our access to information and protection of privacy laws. So in closing, I encourage everybody in Newfoundland and Labrador to review the draft action plan and let us know what you think. As I mentioned, feedback can be provided via the new online wiki tool, but if you're inclined to use more traditional feedback mechanisms, we welcome any comments via social media or email or even telephone. Again, I wish to emphasize that we are committed to reflecting the will of the public in this draft plan. Any feedback we receive over the next 30 days will be considered for inclusion in the final version. The public's ideas and input have made invaluable contributions to the development of this plan. We truly look forward to hearing more about what residents of this province have to say about open government. I want to thank you for joining us this morning. I encourage you to check out the draft plan, and we welcome your input. The Premier and I are now happy to take questions from the media.
Since we don't have a copy of the draft plan, can you just go over what those 12 specific areas are?
I thought you did have a copy of the draft plan, so we'll solve that right away. So the 12 broad actions are aligned with each pillar of the plan: open information, open data, dialogue, and collaboration. So just to give you some examples, the first under the open information pillar is to make government information programs and services more user-friendly and engaging. And then under each of those broad actions, the 12 broad actions, there's a number of key milestones for delivery. Some of the things are really simple, like making sure that contact information for local government contacts in each region of the province is available on government web pages. Then there's things that will take a little bit more time to achieve, like a digital library of all government publications that provide access to information. Developing more tools and resources to help Newfoundlanders and Labradorians access, use, and understand digital information and technologies. We're also committed to enhancing the access to information process, expanding the amount of information that's publicly available from government on an annual basis, including the master list of planned proactive disclosures that we're releasing today as well. Under open data, we're going to expand the amount of data available on the open data website starting today, with dozens of new data sets being released. We're going to support public use of open data. I mentioned we're going to hold code fests. We're actually going to engage entrepreneurs and researchers and others out there, both on the commercial side and on the academic side, to see what's possible in terms of using this data to do good for commercial purposes, or potentially to address social issues in our communities as well. We're going to provide more information on government spending and provide it in an open format that people can manipulate, analyze, and do whatever they wish with. We're going to increase transparency in appointments and human resources by launching an appointments database for all government agencies, boards, and commissions. Under open dialogue, we want to make it easier for the public to engage with government, and we're going to do that in a number of ways. I mentioned our Engage NL registry that we'll create as an example. We also want to use new tools and technologies to engage the public in policy making, so people can have a real say in the decisions and in the direction of government. We want to engage sector experts to improve government's policy development process as well. And we're going to enhance community-based research, and our collaboration incentive fund that we're formally launching today. The application is now online, will help us in that regard as well. I mean, overall, we want to foster a culture of open government, and the reality is that that's not going to happen overnight. We're talking about driving some major cultural change within government and within the public service. So it is going to take time. It's going to take a lot of effort. This is really an all-hands-on-deck approach. This is no longer just an initiative of the Office of Public Engagement. There are people throughout government, in government departments and agencies, that are working together to drive many of these initiatives forward. So I'm pleased with the progress that has been made. We've taken considerable time to make sure we get this draft right. Now we're going out for public input and hoping that over the next 30 days, lots of people in the province will validate some of what we've come up with. They may challenge some of what we've come up with. Hopefully they'll be able to improve on what we've come up with. And at the end of the day, we'll have a final open government action plan that will be definitely the best in the country.
The private-public partnerships for long-term care in the spirit of Right to Know
Week. Sorry, Premier, go ahead.
Well, you know, that, and that's a topic all to itself. And what we've done is we've consulted with, as you know, we partnering with Partnership BC in that process. We've looked at what other jurisdictions have done. We see that it's been a viable option for governments from coast to coast. And there's areas where there's been challenges in the delivery and development of long-term care and how those relationships have operated. But we're looking at the examples where they've been successful. And we're partnering with Partnership BC, who've got good experience and background in it. And through that process, it's a process of private business coming to the table. There's a consultative, a very in-depth, comprehensive partnership process when partners come to the table, and when we get in the right point in time, they'll start talking about what the cost will be. But until we actually go through the process, we won't know what private business was. And Mr. Ball would know that himself. He's a private businessman, a private operator. He knows how these things operate and how they work. And we're asking and have opened the door to for-profit or not-for-profits who wanted to come to the table and discuss that with us. So it's a process we're going through. It's a proven model that's works in other provinces. If there are Liberal governments, NDP governments in other provinces where these have been very successful partnerships with private business, and there are numerous examples where we partner with private business in healthcare today. Just last week, Minister announced an improved relationship, enhanced delivery by pharmacists in the province, which has been broadly welcomed throughout our province and by citizens and by business alike. And I think that's just one example of where private business and government works together in delivery of services.
And not only is Mr. Ball involved in private business, as the Premier points out, ironically, he's involved in the delivery of healthcare services within the private sector, both as the owner of a pharmacy and as the owner of a personal care home. And we have 89 or 90 personal care homes, which are private enterprises in our province who provide high-quality care each and every day to thousands of our citizens. As the Premier said, the long-term care model that we're proposing to explore and deliver on here in our province is in place in every other province in Canada. And there have been numerous proposals received. They're currently being evaluated, and we remain confident that we'll be able to enter into agreements in the weeks ahead. And ultimately, we remain confident that it will save taxpayers money, while at the same time not compromising in any way on the level of care that residents will receive. The same standards, the same policies, the same procedures will all apply. The same ratios and staffing mix requirements will all apply. So in no way will the quality of care be compromised. So it's something we're quite excited about. And to your original question around being open around the costs of the engagement of Partnerships BC, we said from the very beginning that we anticipated the cost of the Partnerships BC contract would be approximately $600,000. And as that comes to a conclusion, we'll be happy to provide all of the details on that. In fact, I believe that some information about the Partnerships BC arrangement has already been made available through ATIP requests and the release of information already, and we're prepared to provide whatever information anybody wants.
Mr. Kent, it seems that a lot of government thinking has changed since Bill 29. For example, you're going and speaking at a Law and Democracy initiative, the same group that I believe it was Minister Collins called a two-bit outfit during the Bill 29 debate. Many of what you're releasing here is information that it's the opposite view of what you were trying to achieve with Bill 29. So how much has government thinking changed on how open government should be since those days?
Well, to be fair, in 2012, when we made changes to our ATIP legislation, we believed we were doing the right things for the right reasons, and otherwise we wouldn't have proceeded with the amendments we made. But in the couple of years following, we listened carefully to what people were saying. There was a lot of outcry. There was a lot of upset about some of the changes that we made. And the Premier of the day, Premier Marshall, said, let's get on with the review of our ATIP legislation, which has to happen every 5 years anyway. Let's do it a year earlier so we can address the public's concerns. We put together an incredible panel, a blue ribbon panel of experts who did an in-depth analysis of our ATIP legislation. And we've gone from being criticized for having legislation that was perceived by many to be the least open or among the least open in the country to having the best legislation in the country and one of the best in the world. Newfoundland and Labrador's ATIP legislation now ranks 15th in the world overall, and the best in Canada in terms of openness. And it is about balance. While we want to be as accessible and as open as possible, we also need to balance that against the right to individual privacy and protecting individuals' privacy. So it is a delicate balance, and it's one that we'll continue to strive to maintain. This is an evolving process. We're very, as we outlined in March of last year, we're very committed to this open government initiative, and it will take time. Cultural change doesn't happen overnight, but starting with the review of our ATIP legislation and the commitment to an open government initiative, I think it really has already changed how we do business. I think you're going to see even more dramatic change in the months and years ahead as this continues to evolve. So we're really committed to being open. We wouldn't have made the bold moves we made with our ATIP legislation if we weren't. We wouldn't be outlining a course of action here that's very bold and will put us in a leadership position in the country if we weren't serious about being even more open as we move forward.
I wanted to ask a few questions about some of the specific items that you mentioned in the initiative. One of them was an online petition platform, and you said that when petitions reach a predetermined signature threshold, that will then warrant a sort of directed and immediate response from government. Isn't it the case that people coming to government with questions or concerns are deserving of that response, regardless of how many other people are standing with them?
Absolutely. And today, and the Premier, I'm sure, has had a similar experience as a minister. Every single day, I receive representation from the public on issues. Health and Community Services, for instance, would be a department where the volume of inquiries from the public is considerably high. We receive dozens a week of new inquiries on new issues that the public expects and demands and deserves a response to. Sometimes those issues are very similar. So quite often I'll receive dozens of letters, dozens of emails and pieces of correspondence on a very similar issue. So the benefit of having an online petition platform is that if there's an issue in a given community or affecting a certain segment of the population that multiple people are concerned about, then it allows people to rally together and all get a response from government that's formal and in a timely manner. That doesn't prevent individual citizens from continuing to email, call, write letters to individual MHAs or ministers. I mean, that's something that happens on a daily basis, and we do our best to respond in a timely fashion. This is about providing another vehicle, so issues that are not necessarily individual and issues that affect a broader number of citizens, then people can band together and make representation to government and be assured that they're going to get a formal response from government in a timely manner. That's really what we're trying to achieve. And this is different from the process in the legislature, where a petition actually has to be sponsored by an individual member of the House of Assembly. This is citizen-driven, which is, I think, what's most exciting about it.
Okay, so will the petitions that are presented in the House be included on the site that covers these petitions, or are you going to keep those separate?
No, that's a separate process altogether. This may spark some discussion in the House of Assembly in future on the petition process and whether there are ways to improve that. But this is really about it's citizen-driven, and it's about citizens making representation to government departments and agencies and ensuring that they get an appropriate and timely response from whatever government department they're raising issues with.
One of the things that you mentioned about that's going to be coming into effect basically immediately is this application process. You mentioned $200,000 for the
Collaboration Incentive Fund.
Right. Can
Yeah.
you give me a better idea as to exactly a more concrete sense of what this is doing, in reality for people and outside of, I guess, just the lingo?
I'll do my best. So, through the Office of Public Engagement and historically through our government's Rural Secretariat, we've been involved in all kinds of community-based research and collaboration. So we have 10, and now with the Youth Advisory Council, we have 11 citizen councils that advise government and have input on government policy. They often partner with business, with labor, with community organizations, and with government to do research and to do work on the ground in regions in this province on various issues that are of concern. This is providing a fund that will allow sectors to collaborate. So for instance, you may get nonprofit organizations working with business and or labor to do some work on a community issue that's of importance with support and with involvement from government. So it could be anything that's timely and of interest to the public. So for instance, there's lots of discussion, as you're aware today, about mental health. It's a high priority for our government. It's an issue that's on the minds of hundreds of thousands of people in Newfoundland and Labrador, and it's an issue that affects hundreds of thousands of people in Newfoundland and Labrador. So if there was a community-based initiative around mental health that brought various organizations and sectors together, there may be a perfect opportunity to do a project through the Collaboration Incentive Fund. There are challenges around supportive housing and homelessness overall. Maybe there's an opportunity there. There's always continued challenges around regional development and opportunities to further diversify our economy and stimulate growth in regions. On the economic side, there may be opportunities for partnerships there. So it's not a big amount of money, but it's about taking a relatively small amount of money and allowing that to leverage other resources and to spark collaboration activity in communities and in regions in the province. So what it will be, who knows, because we're just opening it up for applications, so we'll see in the weeks ahead what kind of interest there is.
Okay. So would the understanding be that anything that comes out from that funding would become public and...
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it would have to be, in keeping with the spirit of the initiative, it'll have to be a very open and transparent process, and it'll be important that we outline what projects have been approved and who's involved, and ultimately what kind of impact they generate as well.
Yeah, the results.
Yeah, yep, for sure.
You're going to be, I noticed one of the things is releasing evaluations on completed government programs.
Yep.
Why just on completed programs and why not programs that are underway? Because I'd imagine lots of departments do regular updates in terms of looking at how well an ongoing program is working. Why not include that as well?
We're open to that. I mean, I think the thing to keep in mind about the information and the data we're releasing today is that this is a starting point. It builds on the work that's been done over the last year or so, and there's more work to be done. This is going to continue to evolve over time. Our intention on that particular item is that if we use taxpayers' money to do an evaluation of a government program, and there's a formal evaluation completed, then that evaluation should be made public, for better or for worse. Whether it says that the program has been widely successful or whether it says the program needs work, that needs to be disclosed, and that's the spirit and intent of that disclosure, and that could include many government programs and initiatives.
Another question, you're talking about the release of an inventory of data sets with an estimated timeline for public release. Does that mean that all government data sets will be released, or are there some that are going to be held back?
We want to release as many as possible. And part of the challenge even getting to this point has been getting the data in a format that allows it to be regularly and easily released. So it's a high priority for us. We've got to identify some resources in the months ahead to work closely between the Office of Public Engagement, the OCIO, and also the Newfoundland and Labrador Statistics Agency to figure out how we can streamline those processes and make even more data available. We also need to continue to listen closely to the public to figure out what data sets are of most interest. So we want to be open by default. We want to release as much information as we possibly can, but it's endless. So we need to figure out what's the stuff that's of most interest. And some of it might be very interesting from an academic perspective. There could be data that we have that could be released that could provide research opportunities for people at the university or the colleges, for instance. There's also data that could be real beneficial from a commercial perspective that could allow people to generate new business ideas or even start businesses based on doing work with the data we release. So we're open to all kinds of possibilities. Releasing dozens more data sets today is good progress, but we recognize there's lots more work to do in that area, and there are some resource constraints that we've got to figure out as we move ahead, and we're going to have to prioritize.
I'm just going to follow up on in terms of the business side. You mentioned the disclosure of information on contracts over $10,000. What exactly are you talking about in terms of information there? What sort of details would people see?
That's being put together, I believe it's being led by the Department of Finance. Can you just direct me to which one you're looking at there?
Yeah, I know. So I know what you're referring to. You're referring to tenders valued over $10,000 award of tenders. So right now, when quite often what happens on tenders, there are those who submit and compete in tenders, and they go back to find out who the successful bidder was, and quite often there's questions about, well, who was in the race, why was one selected over another, and so on. So having respect for commercial sensitivity, we still want to provide information to businesses who want to compete for contracts and tenders. So that's the intent here, is to provide more information. So as the minister's referenced, there's a lot of, he's referenced several times about what's important to individuals and the interests of individuals and people of the province, and that's a priority for us. But there's also, I believe there's a benefit for commercial applications for government as well, when we're doing business with business partners, corporations and industry and so on, service providers, that there's a benefit for them and for government and for the province increasing the amount of information that's available to them. And a lot of what the minister's talking about today as well is having an easy way to find information and to track information. And with tenders, that's not always easy. So this is about improving the accessibility to tender information, to who we're doing business with, how that business operates, while still being sensitive to the commercial sensitivities and some of the confidentiality that sometimes has to go, or protection for individuals or for businesses. But it's really about providing more information, making that available for a number of reasons on a number of fronts. And as you can tell by the minister this morning, he's been very passionate about this since we started this initiative a year ago. His staff are as well, and we have numerous discussions. And when we talk on a regular basis about items that are not directly related to open government, the cultural shift that he refers to is that having that as part of the discussion on matters of importance regarding government, about being open about it, being transparent about it, and when we develop processes, how do we do it in a way that we can now make it more accessible to the people of the province. So when he talks about a cultural shift, it's going to be long term, and it's going to take a consistent application of those thought processes of how do we make this available as part of our regular discussion in doing business with government.
So in that 6.1 is the element there. So in that piece, because I guess from my side of things, I see the press releases when there are significant contracts led by government. Often there are press releases that go out that give us the dollar figure that's related to the award and the company that's involved. So you're suggesting that we might potentially see a list of bidders on all of those? And
that's right. That's the
just
intention.
maybe not the values associated with the bids? Is that
Not just simply who won the contract and the amount, but also who else bid and what the projects entailed. So we want to provide as much information as possible, and the key with that particular action item is to put it in a centralized database. So include all government departments. There's also information being released today from the Department of, I said Finance, it's actually the Department of Transportation and Works, related to reports after tender call that include that kind of information that I just referenced. Who bid, who won the bid, what were the amounts, what is it they were bidding on. So it's fairly basic information, but we want to make it available on a regular basis, and ultimately we want to create a database where contract award data is all there. So people have a one-stop shop, so to speak, one place to go to get that information.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you again.
Thanks, folks.
It's